Hello there, welcome once more to Moments with Padre Joe. And this time around, we shall be talking about a very, very polarized kind of argument. And by that I mean in vitro fertilization. So, it is the case that we live in a very secular, relativist kind of environment. And there are a number of things that are becoming more argumentative, and a number of persons do not agree with a number of things. So for instance, if we have the knowledge and the technological means permits it, why can't we use technological means for enhancing fertility and giving birth? These kind of questions pose a lot of discussions and all of those kind of things. So I think it's important we talk about it. I will talk about it from a bioethical point of view. And by that I mean, we'll look at the biology, then we'll look at the ethics, and then see how the arguments would make sense. So, in the case of infertility, it is a natural response for anyone who suffers infertility to seek a response, right? And one of those responses will of course be the in vitro fertilization. Now, this natural response actually began with what I like to refer to as the paradigm shift, in 1978, when the first IVF success was recorded, and it was a woman called Louise Brown, who was the very first ever, in England. And from then on, it's been a chain reaction of a lot of things. So this led to the mentality, about medical ethics and the woman's reproductive system, the argument of therapy versus enhancement, and all of those kind of things. So before we even get to really discuss what IVF is, we need to define it, right? So what is it? We have the very famous acronym IVF, which actually means in vitro fertilization. And in some sources, you would have IVF ET, and the ET stands for embryo transfer. But we'll get there. That's not the only thing that can happen after IVF. So it is in vitro fertilization. And it basically involves, it's a process of fertilization where the egg, or the oocyte, the egg, is combined with sperm, but outside the body. That is called IVF. So that in vitro is Latin for in the glass, the petri dish that is used in the laboratory. So that is what it is by definition. But then how does it work? There are a whole lot of medical jargons with respect to, how IVF works. So there's the laparoscopy and the pharmacological induced ovulation. Of course, you need to get egg from the woman, right? So you need to get sperm from the man, and the processes through which these are done. And then it could either be homologous, which means between couples, like maybe husband and wife, or at least couples, or heterologous. And that refers to those who, for instance, go to sperm banks, to get the sperm. They are not exactly couples. Now, after that is done, there is always the examination of the seminal fluid, that's the sperm. And then, of course, of the egg. You need to get the most viable of these two. And that is what you combine in a petri dish in the laboratory from where fertilization occurs. And then, of course, I said something about ET, which is the embryo transfer. That is just one of the many things that can happen after in vitro fertilization. So it could be transcervical, like through the cervix, or transuterine, through the uterus. And this will be done, of course, under the anesthesia for about 24 hours of rest in the hospital, and then 4 to 5 days at home. There are a whole lot of things. This, which I just said, is not exactly exhaustive, but it's just to give us an idea into really what happens, in the whole concept of IVF. So there are a whole lot of things that happen pre the operation, the IVF, getting the two gametes, sperm and egg, what happens when it is gotten, how it is gotten, and all of those. So, of course, after the two gametes are gotten, it is either transcervical, and what that means is it is passed through the cervix or transuterine, which is passed directly into the uterus. And of course, we have this done under the anesthesia. And after like 24 hours of rest in the hospital, or maybe 4 to 5 days at home, then there are blood tests carried out, and a whole lot of that's why I called it medical jargons. But this is just to give us an idea into what really goes on. So, what's the big deal? Why do we need to talk about IVF? Why are there lots of arguments about it? It's important to understand that when it comes to morality, when it comes to ethics, that which is being done, the act itself, the means through which it's being done, and at the end, the purpose for which it is being done, all have to be good. Now, it cannot be just one of it. The moment one of these 3 things I mentioned go wrong, the whole thing is wrong. I say it again, the act itself, the means through which it is done, and the purpose for which it is done, all have to be good. So, the big deal with IVF is, how are the 2 gametes obtained? Let's begin from there. How do you obtain the sperm? Now, there are a whole lot of ways of doing it, but my immediate guess is masturbation. And I hope you get the point. There's already a problem with that. I know in our age and time, that was why I recognize the fact that we live in a secular, relativist world, and a lot of people don't have a problem with that, but that you, as a person, do not have a problem with that doesn't mean the thing does not have a problem in itself, objectively speaking. So, masturbation in itself is wrong. So let's agree on that. But that is the means, the usual means through which you get the sperm. Like I said, there are other surgical means through which you can get it. But that is a big deal. That's the first thing. For the woman, it is the case that she will have to go through what we call an ovarian hyperstimulation. And some people would argue, well, that is not exactly terminal. That is not supposed to be a big deal. But it can be, because you are changing the normal functionality of your hormones to produce more eggs than you should normally. That could be another big deal. Now, I think it's also important to quickly say, before I continue, that something is technologically possible does not make it morally admissible. That something is technologically possible does not make it morally admissible. There are many things that are possible technologically. Then, still talking about what the big deal is. We need to understand what is going on here. Is it a therapeutic act, or you are substituting or manipulating something? When I mean therapeutic, are you healing something, or you just want to enhance something? Now with IVF, which is a response to infertility, it is the case that infertility is not the end itself. Infertility is a symptom of another problem. So if you want to try IVF, we need to ask, for what reason? Because whatever might be the reason for which you are going into the IVF, we need to establish what exactly you're doing. Is it therapeutic or manipulative? Please stay tuned. It is Moment with Padre Joe. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to turn on your notification bells. And more importantly, share the link and let's get this discussion going on.